I just did something that is by far the best upgrade I have done since I began off-roading. I became a certified wilderness first responder. Brandon here with Berserker Off-Road, and for years I have been ignorant of my lack of first aid training. I was assuming that, because I'm an Eagle Scout, I know first aid, and once I became an adult leader in my son's Cub Scouts, I realized just how inadequate my first aid training is. For years I've been taking my family on backcountry trips, doing off-roading and rock crawling and going on these adventures, and I've been pretty lucky that there have not been any major issues or accidents. No one's gotten hurt, but it's just a matter of time before that happens. I also had a false sense of security. I thought, you know what? I bought this first aid kit that says it's for 10 people in 14 days. And so there's so much stuff in here, so I'm prepared. But, I didn't know how to use most of the stuff in there. And if there's an emergency and I was panicking, I surely wouldn't know. I wouldn't be able to thumb through the book and read what to do if someone's bleeding out in a certain spot in their body. I just didn't know, but I thought that because I had this kit, I was safe. And so I made a decision to get proper training to know how to use the stuff in here and then practice with those so that I became proficient even under stressful situations, so that when an accident does occur, I have that muscle memory to fall back onto so that I'm not guessing or fumbling around and, okay, someone's hurt, this is how I act, this is how I respond. So I took responsibility for that, for my own safety and the safety of my family and those who I might come across and those who I adventure with. And so I took a 10-day Wilderness First Responder certification course with the National Outdoor Leadership School, or NOLS. Now, they are not affiliated with this channel. They did not sponsor me or give me something to say this. I just took the class because they are the best in the industry. And holy cow, did I learn a lot in this intensive 10-day first aid class. The Wilderness First Responder training from NOLS was exactly the first aid training I was looking for. It was 10 days of in-depth first aid training. After learning the patient assessment system, we began working through patient scenarios where through the course of those 10 days, we would take turns being the victim or the responder, and we'd be out in the woods and they'd put us through these situations like, someone fell off a cliff or they got hit by a mountain bike, and you'd either work through them either individually or as a team on how to respond to the situation. And it was practice on how to respond to these different stressful situations, because they were stressful. Even though it was a controlled environment, it was still stressful. You have the person, they're in agony or they're unconscious and you don't know what's going on. You got to figure it out so you can help them to the best of your ability. And this class was amazing at doing that. And it taught me just how stressful it can be when you respond to someone. And this type of training, it just underscores that you need training. You need to know how to help people, because when someone's hurt, and you're running for your first aid kit, well, you're not going to know what to do necessarily. You're going to be fumbling through stuff and you're losing time you need to help that person if it's a life-threatening injury, time you might not have. And so having that training helps you respond in the best time you can, and then learning how to make a call, a judgment call or a decision on a rapid evac if necessary, or how to properly care for that person until they are satisfied. On my trips, I carry a satellite communicator. It works through satellites instead of cell towers, so it works anywhere in the world, even when you don't have cell service on your phone. This particular device, it lets me communicate, text with my family. They can track me on my adventures. They can see where I'm at, but it also features this handy little SOS button. So if I get in trouble, I get hurt, I'm in an accident, I can hit that and it alerts authorities that I need assistance, and I can communicate with them so they can determine the appropriate response to come help and save me. There's a misconception about hitting that SOS button. People think that there's a helicopter just on standby, just ready to come rescue them right away as soon as I hit that button, but that's not the case. It could be hours or days before you get rescued. And you need to be prepared to shelter in place and hunker down if need be before those rescuers can come get you. So on all of your backcountry trips, be prepared, take responsibility, bring extra food, water, a bivy sack if you need to, just something that if you have to, you'll be okay for a couple days. Don't be ignorant of where you're at. we're adventurers. You know, a lot of you guys are overlanders. You try to go to faraway places on purpose, away from civilization, and that means it's hard to get to you if there's a problem. So take some responsibility and get some first aid training, so if you need to, you can take care of yourself until better help arrives. In the class, they hammer into you the patient assessment system. These are steps you take to help treat the victim and get information so you can then make a decision on what to do, if they need a rapid evac or if it's treatable in the field. And there's some great steps in here. You know, for example, the scene size up. As you approach the victim, you take a step back and you go, you know, can I become a victim here too? You know, is this person, do they fall off a rock climbing ledge? And are there more climbers up there that can drop rocks on me? Is this in the middle of a mountain biking trail? And are there more bikers that can come flying over that hill and smash into me too? Just making you aware of potential hazards to you as well, so you don't become a victim yourself. And then past that, it's the 4 C's. You know, are they conscious? Establishing communication, getting consent to treat them, and then controlling the spine if there's an MOI for a spine injury. And then looking at the ABCs, airway, breathing, circulation, or circulation, airway, breathing, if there's blood all over the place and you need to put a tourniquet on them or stop major bleeding immediately. And so these steps, they're this excellent guide to help you work through treating the victim and really stopping any life-threatening injuries immediately, and then working through past that to get a set of vitals, patient history, because you don't know how long it could be before professionals arrive to hand off the patient. And so you do what you can while they're conscious, because if they lose consciousness, well, then they might not have a chance to get that information. So it's your job to get that information right away. And so that's part of that patient assessment program. The 10-day Wilderness First Responder class is an awesome experience. As you learn issues in the classroom, you then go out and you practice dealing with those issues and how they fit into the patient assessment system. So you take turns with your classmates being either a victim or a responder. And if you're the victim, you act out what you just learned, showing the signs, symptoms, and sometimes they use makeup if they're bruises or cuts. And then if you're the responder, sometimes you don't know what's going on. The person could be unresponsive, unconscious, or they could, you know, have mental clarity issues. And so you need to figure out, how do you treat that person? How do you identify what the likely common or what the likely problem is, and then how that fits in the patient assessment system. And then with that, deciding a course of action, how to stabilize that person, how to trigger an evac if necessary, you know, things like that. And it was just a lot of fun doing this class. I met so many cool people in this class. You know, I was surrounded by people that they're like rock climbing guides or kayaking guides, or they live in Alaska in a town with 6 buildings, and they get their groceries once a month. You know, they're delivered by airplane, and you know, they don't decide what they're having for dinner and go to the store. They go to the store and see what they have to figure out what they want for dinner. You know, that's the kind of people that were in this class. Just people that either really need to be self-sufficient because they live in the middle of nowhere, or they're backcountry guides and they needed this experience so they could lead their own crews of people through the backcountry and keep them safe. So when I finished the class, I had my Wilderness First Responder certification, CPR certification, and EpiPen injector certification. So it's a great skill set. And the certification is good for 2 years, so then I need to go back and take a condensed renewal course to get recertified, and do that every 2 years as long as I want to be certified, and I absolutely will, just to stay current on the first aid and learn any new things that might have changed since I've taken the class. And you know, I am so happy I took this class. It gives me just more confidence in my first aid. Now, again, it's not a license to practice medicine in the front country. If a kid dislocates their arm in a baseball game, I can't go out there and reset their shoulder, although I know how to. That's not an appropriate situation. It's only for in the backcountry when people are hurt, people are injured, and hours or days away from help. And I'm their only help, you know, at that time. So, you know, I absolutely encourage you to take it on yourself to get first aid training. You owe it to yourself and those with you to get first aid training. Even if it's a simple stop the bleed class at your hospital, just something. Learn something. Watch some YouTube videos. Buy first aid supplies and practice at your house. You know, just get used to using stuff. You know, learn basic wound packing or tourniquets or making splints. Just Learn this stuff so that when you're out there, you know how to take care of yourself and those around you. I'm Brandon with Berserker Off-Road. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the trail.
I should hear all that.